Doom, doom, doom. Episode. I don't even know what episode we're on now. It's been so long and so
Well, I
quick.
don't know
Was it
either. I don't
six?
know
I
which
think
episode this
it's
is.
5 or 6. I want to say.
Seven.
Yeah, that
We're
sounds
doing
about
things
right.
a little different this week. This is technically going to be a round table, so I don't specifically have a fact checker. I don't specifically have a moderator. We will all be talking tonight, and we're talking politics. Obviously, it's what's got to be talked about given what's going on right now in the country. So, obviously, I'm Johnny. I'm the boring guy, the dude that got silenced last week, right before I offered some incredible points, by the way. But that's another time. Um, I have my guests here. I will let them all introduce themselves. Let me start with the newbie because I got a new face here. If you guys didn't catch it, this is Ken Brass. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Cam Brass. Hey, everybody. I'll try to behave tonight.
It's a safe place. It'll be fun. So, Vernon, a longtime panelist, introduce yourself to people who may be new.
Vernon, school administrator, lifelong educator. Told someone last night it's not trolling. When somebody says something wrong, you're supposed to help out and correct. That's
Boom.
it. So we like doing that. Man, I can't wait to talk about this. Election week. I can't wait. I just can't wait.
All right. So, Stacy, introduce yourself for the guests.
I am Stacy Deering, aka Professor D, your favorite professor in the Metro Detroit Politan area, specializing in urban politics. And I'm in my feelings and bag with this topic today.
So, one thing I have to get out of the way, it's pretty much going to be the elephant in the room here, because I know most people are watching this like, oh, this is just going to be a bunch of Trump hate. That is not true. Like, people have opinions, they absolutely do, but I just want to air out, to everybody. Like, I voted for Donald Trump, so just soak that in, process it, take it, because I knew that it needed to be discussed. Because if this is difficult discussions, it has to be difficult. So I will lay on that shield, and we will have that discussion. So I am the detractor tonight. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm sure you have questions. Feel free to ask because I know you have opinions, and I do too. Let's
I
do
already
it.
know what it is. Second Amendment. Second Amendment. It's purely Second Amendment.
It's not just the Second Amendment, but
Oh,
that's
well,
a
tell
big
us
part
more
of it.
then.
Well, honestly, for me, I stood in the poll for about 5 minutes, just staring at this first selection. Because I'm like, what do I do here? You know, and people talk about the lesser of two evils. People talk about, you just got to go with the right choice and things of that nature. So I'm like, okay, what are my options here? How does this affect me directly? And I got to tell you, my biggest issue with Donald Trump has been the fact that people do dumb things in his name and he never really corrects them. So if I was to look at a Biden presidency, and let's say there were some people like Antifa or something like that that just took up arms for light and started committing atrocities in the street, Joe Biden would shut them down. Like, hey, knock that off. We're not going to do that here. Even if behind the scenes he was like, hey, you guys are awesome, he's not going to do it publicly. Donald Trump can't do that. He does not have the capacity to set his ego aside, to ever admit that maybe he's wrong. So that's a problem. So I don't support Donald Trump. However, Joe Biden has made claims that directly affect me and how I carry myself and what I do in my life. He has flat out said that he intends to, if able, classify me as a felon. I take issue with that. And I know the first thing people will say was, oh, he's not coming for your guns and XYZ. However, he's laid a foundation of how he plans to do it. And if he has the Senate and the House seats that he needs, he actually has the means to accomplish it. Now, will it happen? Who's to say? But again, you're literally asking me to pick between a choice of a dude that I just don't like or a guy who is literally an enemy solely because he's not the guy that people don't like. So if my choices are to be shot in the left butt cheek or the right butt cheek, I sit with my wallet on my right butt cheek. So I'd probably prefer not to be shot there. So it's not a good decision. It's not really benefiting me either way. However, I would rather be in a climate where if there's going to be issues, I have the means to do something about it, as opposed to literally legislating myself into a criminal record, which I currently don't have. So at the end of the day, I really thought about it. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just make it work. I know he's going to try to come for my guns just like they all try to come for my guns, but maybe he won't be successful like the previous presidents who've attempted. But what if he is? One of the topics from last week that we discussed was registration. Vernon felt that it was preposterous that someone could own a rifle and not have it registered. The question I couldn't ask because my mic failed was, well,
divine intervention.
there you go. What would a registration accomplish? The actual brass tacks of it. Because if I'm imposed with laws that are presented that I don't feel are just, my next recourse would be to go to the courts and legal system to fight it. And to do that in court, I would have to question the motives of the action taken against me on the grounds of is it constitutional. So from his perspective of where you feel it would be a common sense thing to have a registration does not prevent loss of life. It doesn't impact loss of life whatsoever. It's a means of a reaction. Something has happened. Now we can backtrack to who had it. The thing is, though, when atrocities occur, these people are in situations where they've already made the decision that they don't care anymore. They're making a decision to take mass life and typically will try to take their own if they're not captured by them. So in that circumstance, really doesn't do anything because they're not trying to
Hey,
hide.
Johnny, real
Yeah.
quick, sorry. I can hear you, but others in the group, real quick, are saying there's no, or people watching live are saying there's no sound.
I can't hear anybody.
Oh God.
You can't hear anybody?
There's two people.
Can you hear me? Can you hear anybody? I don't know sign language, so I can't help.
Oh,
I hear everybody.
Tell
I hear
Emily,
they
check
are.
the sound.
I
I
can
hear.
hear.
I hear
All
I
everybody.
can hear all of y'all.
I think we're back.
All right.
Okay.
Well, all right. We got people saying they have sound. So
Oh, Amanda says she can hear.
All right, we're back.
Matt says he has sound.
all right. So basically, what I'm saying is, a registration is reactionary. You're reacting to events happening, and you're utilizing the registry to somehow investigate the situation. But how many of these people have actually gotten away? They're usually either caught or dead. So a registration does not impact loss of life. What it does do is give you a database. So when you say we did a registration, the registration did not work, the numbers have not changed, now maybe a mandatory buyback makes more sense. And oh, by the way, we have the means to track who had these things to enforce a buyback, which is a confiscation. Well regulated, yes, you can regulate the militia. However, to regulate, you have to have means and justification to do so. And if you do not, now you're infringing. Just like when you classify an assault weapon. What is an assault weapon? Because an AR-15 that's sold to civilians is not an assault weapon. So if you don't have a legal definition of what your issue is with the weapon and you just say we shouldn't have it because it's a bad thing, that's not going to work in the world of law because you have to have precedent. So you're creating a registration to give a database. Now you can say, I don't like XYZ thing. It has to be off the streets. And I know who has it. So if you don't give it up, now you're a criminal. And these are laws that will get passed because they sound good on paper. But when you actually look at the brass tacks of what's being applied here, the slippery slope is not acknowledged. So again, back to the whole situation of politics, I'm being asked to vote for someone who does not like me, does not like what I do, does not like what I'm about. He's anti-constitution because this is a constitutional right and he does not feel that I should have it. And he does not feel that this constitutional right should exist. Furthermore, the people who are surrounded by him share the same sentiment. Ms. Harris has said that people don't need rifles. Beto, who he has openly said he wants to appoint to hold task for firearm control, has flat out said, yes, we are going to take your weapons. We are going to confiscate them. I don't like them. I'm not going to legally define them. I'm not going to say what about them I don't like. I'm going to say you just should have them. But then when you break it down on the mechanics of the weapon, a lot of the things that that weapon has also would fall under the other weapons that I have. So then there's no real
Close the door.
competition
He
between
opened.
those and the other weapons that you claim I can keep until you decide later that you want to take those as well. Now, I could say that I have on a tinfoil hat and I'm just being afraid. I'm looking at the situation for what it could be. And that could be an omission of my right. And I'm not one to typically give up my rights, especially coming from a background of people who had to fight so hard to get rights to begin with. You know, the classic mantra in 2020 is we're not our ancestors. Well, I am not my ancestors. I am armed. I am not someone you can just sway if I don't want to be swayed. And I have a hard time potentially giving up that ability. So when I sit there and I look at that ballot and I do my checks and balances and I weigh on things, the conversations that we've had previously, the sentiment that people have. Do I like Donald Trump? Absolutely not. But I don't understand the notion of how people support any real politician that they don't know personally, because I feel like at the end of the day, if you were laying on the ground as they were walking by, they would step over you. Flat out, you know.
I feel it, Johnny. I know we're kind of continuing the gun conversation.
Subtly, very subtly.
But here's where, and one thing I'll say, and we have people out there. We have a group chat with people that we've invited that are also invited to come on here. So I know you've seen a lot of me and Johnny. You've seen a lot of Stacy. First time seeing Ken. But there's others that are invited. We've seen Brandon a lot. That just I don't want to say it. They just have busy
Don't
schedules.
want to smoke. I'll say it.
They
Don't want to smoke.
They
I'm
got
here
busy.
for smoke.
Yeah,
I'm here.
but I think one thing is, and I'm saying this strictly from my role as middle management administrator that works with elected officials that create policies and all these other things. One thing that happens, I'm going to go from low to high because we're kind of talking about the presidency. One thing that happens is people run on platforms and they don't understand the level of bureaucracy, or as a professor at Eastern Michigan told me, how sausage is really made. And they don't understand what levels it would take to get certain things done. I thought in the third debate, Joe Biden made one small comment that a lot of people didn't jump on when he had the hate spewed at him of, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do it when you were in the White House? And he subtly said, because the Senate blocked everything we tried to do. So it's levels to the government. That's why, with all due respect, from 2016 to 2019, really, Donald Trump had a House, a Senate, and the White House. So he had 2/3 of our government from elementary civics. He had 2/3 of our government. He could have gotten anything he wanted done. Compared to Barack Obama, who in his final years as president did not have that same luxury for his second term.
6 of the 8 years,
Yeah.
actually, because 2010 is swung.
I mean, but full term, for a full presidential term,
I hear you.
he could. So, but here's my other thing, like Beto O'Rourke.
Mhm.
I like Beto. Can you explain? We don't have a fact checker. What is his role right now, other than Democrat? What power does he have? He's
Right
not
now,
a senator. He's not.
No.
So his opinion is great. It's just like mine. He's a citizen with an opinion.
Joe Biden openly said at a rally, I want to appoint him to head my gun control task force.
That's fine. That's fine.
So if he
But
becomes president and he creates his cabinet, Mr. Beto would become a part of that.
I got you.
And as far as the seats with the Senate, you look at the situation of all the Republican hate, the Donald Trump hate, it is very safe to say while you're sitting in the ballot booth, there are some seats that can flip.
Right.
So again, I vote for Joe Biden. I could potentially be putting myself at risk.
I'm
now,
with you.
I'm just not feeling it.
every
You
educator.
forgot about the conservative judicial branch, though. So that's more powerful than the legislative in a sense.
Because things have to get to the Supreme Court in order for the Supreme Court to make a decision. So cases have to go through lower courts to make it. Like, you really have to be a prolific loser at first in order to make it to the Supreme Court, because these are all appeals. But
what I say to that is, look at the red flag laws that were passed that directly take away people's rights.
I know,
Whereas
but
I can say, hey, this person's a danger. They come and take your stuff and then investigate it later. So basically, you're not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent.
well,
And that's law. That happens.
So what has to happen? But what has to happen there is somebody challenges when they get their rights violated.
So become a murderer.
And no, they just have to be. You've
already lost your weapons. They've already taken them. So now you have to go through the legal system to get them back. Again, you are guilty before you have been proven so. And to get your stuff back, you have to go through the extra steps to prove that you're not a danger to yourself, even though previously you've done nothing wrong. You've broken no laws. You have no record that would state that, other than someone saying. So again, from my perspective, I'm just saying that opening myself up to these types of situations is not savory to me.
Right.
And regardless of the drop balls this dude has done and how you feel about him as a president, I'm not saying that he's a good president. I'm not saying that he's doing a great job. What I'm saying,
I'm gonna make some bold statements, because we've talked about this. I tell people all the time, I don't argue about policy, because you got to have an understanding of bureaucracy. So, like, say at a school district, somebody runs for school board. That is low-level politics right there. And they say all the things they're going to do for the school district and for kids. And then when they get on the school board, you realize you can't even say things at meetings because you have parliamentary procedure and board policies that are already established in place. So that's one level of bureaucracy. I don't question policies, because I know how many, and we've all seen it, how many levels goes into bureaucracy. What I question is civility, professionalism, integrity, and character traits. Those are the things of leaders that I question. And I said, after I saw his press conference today, it would be like Matt Patricia going up on stage after losing a football game and saying, I coached the defense. My offense didn't score enough points. I don't care that we gave up 40, because the refs and the other team cheated to get those 40 points. They were holding every play. They were doing illegal plays. The referees didn't call penalties. It's the refs' fault, but my offense coordinator didn't call the right plays, and offense didn't put up enough points. That shows horrible and pathetic leadership, and we wouldn't expect that, or even keep a football coach, somebody that organizes a team sport. We wouldn't accept that. You wouldn't have your kids. You wouldn't have yourself. If your employer did some of the things that he did, you would have a class action lawsuit with all of your colleagues for how your employer talked to you and treated you. I'm talking about civility. Like, there are things that me as an assistant principal, I could never do. On this podcast or this Facebook Live group, I don't use a whole lot of colorful language that I use in my real life. You want to know why? Because this is an online record of a lot of things. So I can have an opinion of things, but I'm never going to be defamatory. I'm still going to have some type of attack because of my role. You just had the President of the United States go on to a stage in the White House and say, America cheated me. You had a billionaire say that he is more aligned with the working stiff, like the four of us, than he is big money industry. He literally said that.
We know that it's BS. And
I don't. I don't know
don't
it's
think
BS.
that what he's saying is BS?
No, because
I think he believes it.
Because we talked to 3 people for the last 3 days that spit the same rhetoric.
Like, was solid on it.
Rhetoric
10 toes down with it.
Here. 10 toes.
This dude is
like, yes.
His whole function is saying what he knows the people that he wants says what they want to hear. And I hear that. But my
No,
thing
that's
Where
is,
there's smoke,
dangerous.
there's fire.
it's dangerous. But you say you can't do this, can't do that. What you can't do under these systems, to say that Joe Biden would not, for lack of better term, be able to attack me personally. However, the exact other side of that coin is all of the things that Donald Trump is doing and getting away with that we don't like, why he shouldn't be in office. So I mean, where
Yeah.
is the level of where is the restraint that you're supposed to have in office that he just does not have, and that's okay. Whereas Biden, I'm supposed to say, well, he won't be that way, and maybe it's not a matter of tact, but I feel like he would be the same
But what?
in a direct
He's
opposition to me.
already showed you for 40 plus years how he would be,
Right.
essentially. Like
Yeah.
you already know his decorum and that he actually has political knowledge, that he actually understands he understands the Constitution. Trust me, he does. I know you might feel he don't, but he does. You can't serve with Barack Obama and not
He
understand the
just doesn't
Constitution.
believe it.
And Barack Obama was a constitutional professor. Like he understands it. And we keep going on hypotheticals. Like he's gonna pass these laws, he's gonna do this.
It's not a
Again,
hypothetical though.
The Senate,
He's literally
no, listen. The Senate is what passes these laws. Okay, like it's not that probable that the Senate is gonna flip blue. It's not that probable. It's a real struggle.
I mean, actually, when I think, didn't they say the Senate actually gained seats unexpectedly?
Yeah, it's a tie. It's still at a tie.
It's a tie.
Everything
It's
hasn't
48,
been confirmed yet.
Well, I know some
Yeah,
about
it's
those
still-
runoffs in Georgia, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
gonna
we
be in
still, but we
January.
don't know yet. So the Democrats will have to be at 51, and then the Republicans at 49. And right now it's a toss-up. So we don't know how that's going to be.
Still has
So if the Senate stays Republican, you just saw this in the Obama administration. He ain't gonna really be able to get a lot of his agenda done that way
I
because they're
can't
gonna
base
just say no to
future
everything.
off of that past because it was not the same climate. You had Bill Clinton, where
You have
everybody
school
was
shootings.
living good and feeling good. Okay, everybody was happy. It was a joke. Politics was a fun thing. George W. Bush gets in, war, people are dead, people are upset. Katrina happens, things aren't happening the way we feel they should. He's ready to go out of office. He's done a poor enough job where a female and an African American have a legitimate shot at winning. So they run. Obama gets in. It is great. Kumbaya. The world has changed. We've made history. People were sick to their stomachs that this man became president. So they were ready to do whatever they could to get him out of office. Donald Trump is literally the antithesis of what we're doing right now because we're very unhappy with what he's doing and we're willing to vote anyone in. Anyone.
No,
Just
no.
get him
I'm willing to vote in somebody with experience and knowledge. I'm willing to vote in somebody with the proper credentials. I got to hire a math teacher. Hey, in the world, I'm talking. It's not just my school district. People, if you can sub, if you can do a lot of things, if you have a teaching degree, there are plenty of spots in Oakland County for you. But I'm not going to hire a math teacher that has a science cert. Because they don't have the credentials to teach the class. They could be a rock star science teacher. They could be great with educational pedagogy, parlance, everything. They are a phenomenal educator. I can't put them in the AP Calc class. So
would you put him in the Calc class if he was qualified, but then sniff children as well?
Don't do the sniff children thing. Like don't do the sniff children thing. Because I'll say this. I'll say this.
You talking sniff children? We talking about a president that was grabbing women by the PUSSY. Like
we had a Democrat that was
wanna
getting
do that?
jobs in the Oval.
No. We're not going to go through hypotheticals. So
it's not hypothetical though. That's what I'm saying. It's
so
like
he was sniffing. So he
well,
sniffs
I'm
children.
not talking about the sniffing. I'm talking about
So come on. He sniffs children. He's that open of a pedophile that us poor regular
I
people
didn't say he was a pedophile. I said he sniffed children.
that's a pedophile.
So what's he sniffing children for? Since you know that,
You asking me? You
what is
asking
he sniffing? What is he sniffing them for?
I don't know why he maybe he's
So
likes to
where
sniff.
have you seen the
the
sniffing
proof?
of
Where's the
children?
pictures? Where's the
See?
lawsuit? Where is that?
Are you talking about the picture of
That's
him
what I'm saying.
with his
If Joe Biden
granddaughter
sniffed
at
a
his son's
child,
funeral? The
There
picture
would
of
have
him
been
with his
legal
granddaughter at his son's funeral.
ramifications behind that.
Videos of him caressing women from behind, all up
No.
in their stuff, girls that are trying to get away from him when he's
So
coming in.
that's disgusting. But somebody saying on record where he says you don't even have to respect a woman; they'll love you for it. Like he said it. He didn't even dispute it. This is a man that's been married 3 times, cheated on wife number 1 with wife number 2, cheated on wife number 2 with wife number 3, cheated on wife number 3 with a porn star, tried to pay off the porn star, but you're going to tell me that he sniffs children because you get one picture of it? Come on, bro. You are way more intelligent than that. And I'll say this, there is each one of us probably has an aunt, big mama, somebody from Mississippi or Alabama that is buxom and always want to give everybody a big ass hug. And when you bring your friends around, she want to give your friends a big ass hug, and she is so close to violating them. And I got people that I've worked with that it's like, and it's, if you study generational diversity, you will see that baby boomers are inherently touchy, loving, community. So, okay,
when you say touching,
sniffing is right.
Like when he gave the speech and he talked about having the kids rub his hairy legs.
Who?
He said that.
Who? Where? Come on, Johnny.
Joe Biden.
Don't do that, dog. We
don't have a fact checker, but I'm sure one of you people just type it.
So where are we gonna get this from? Because it can only be social media BS where people are putting things together.
With a microphone in his hand, telling a story about how he was in the swimming pool and had kids come around and wanted to have them rub his legs because they're so hairy or some shit like that. It's there. He did it. It's not a joke. It's not a superimposed image. It is something he said.
I'm so serious. Why don't I see that? I see it on social media. Why don't I see that leading Fox News on repeat? Like we get the Access Hollywood video, and I can actually say it was on Access Hollywood mics. We get that over and over, like the full detail, the full transcript, and Beyond Media Bites. You guys, my wife, during this whole election, I've watched OWN for like an hour and a half to see how they are speaking about things. I watched Fox News. You've seen it in the comments or in our group chat where I said, I'm not even watching CNN because honestly, CNN is trying to like not get too excited. Fox News is the one like, hey, let's drink because this party's over. Like, we don't have to get a bad suit.
That, people can be unsavory. So it's like, I understand that's the air of the day. Donald Trump does not have decorum and things of that nature. That's fine. But it's not like, this dude Biden is just walking through here clean. And granted, he may be a more technically qualified person. It does not matter to me personally. That's all you need. Because,
Johnny,
again,
I'm trying to help you, John.
Is in direct conflict to me.
With all due respect, I work in a public capacity. I know just from how I was, I went to bars. Nobody tell Facebook. I enjoy life on weekends. I am not the guy with the shirt and tie that makes rules and decisions Monday through Friday when I am with my friends or my wife and people on weekends. I'm a different person. You can't talk as if everybody's squeaky clean, but in the end, as long as you don't have things that it's just like pulling up racism. With Joe Biden, you pull out one comment. Everybody pulls out one comment, but completely wants to look over a federal indictment for racial discrimination towards Donald Trump. But you want to pull out one excerpt from a 40-minute proposal. One sentence. You know how immature and how irresponsible it is to even compare those things. And I'm not talking about you.
I hear
talking
you.
about
I see that.
The way we're scoping things.
Again, my entire platform, 100% on
Guns.
why I made my decision is his position that I should not have the rights that I have. And he intends to, if he can, take those rights away.
Right.
And
I got a big question for you, Johnny, when you finish.
Of course.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for me to sit here
and
interest.
So my question is,
go ahead with the question.
My question is, when you are making a decision on who to vote for, meaning you're the CEO, and I said this when I did all my webinars, you're the CEO of your vote. So what you're doing is you're creating a job description for what you want these candidates to do. I need these candidates to do A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. Who's the best candidate that can get this done? You put a preference on your Second Amendment right and bypass everything like systemic racism, women's rights, other moral compass issues, the climate in our country, a divisive country that could be borderline going into serious race wars. Like, you put all of that aside and just said my Second Amendment right has preference over the fact that he doesn't acknowledge that I'm discriminated against every day. My children will be, my brothers and sisters will be, my community will be, because he doesn't even acknowledge systemic racism and he feels like we shouldn't even have diversity training. So you push all of that to the side and said my Second Amendment takes preference over all of that.
My ability to defend myself and my loved ones does take precedent over what people would try to do to oppress me. Because outside of a person wearing a badge, who, regardless of who the president is, can take my life and fill out some paperwork and go about his business, there's not much I can do about that. Now, as far as the social climate and discrimination, just like he has guns, I have guns that typically protect me from those types of situations. Now, in terms of the other, like, climate issues and things of that nature, I did not vote Republican straight ticket. I just didn't vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden is too extreme for me as far as how it impacts me. The other choices, I did vote more moderate, libertarian, Democrat, what have you. I voted for a couple Republicans too, because I understand that those are the people who are going to directly affect me on a more personal level, so that I'm not putting myself in a position where it's just give them all what they want. Because at the end of the day, again, you know, if the Proud Boys feel great, they want to get out here. I'm with my wife walking down the street and they happen to take issue with it like it's 1943. That scenario plays out very differently than it did in 1943. And again, I'm not looking at superlatives or anything like that. In a situation where you do a confiscation for these weapons, where are they going to go? They're not getting melted down. You know, how did, you know, Osama bin Laden get his weapons? We gave them to him. So you take these weapons. I have no confidence that what you're going to do with them is positive. So now the weapons that were in safe hands are not in safe hands anymore. You're creating a black market. I mean, these are situations that I'm looking at from a direct perspective of my life, my ability to have it, and my loved ones' lives and their abilities to have it. And I feel like you go back to the ban from the 90s and the violence that we had, the numbers weren't going down. The numbers went up. The numbers went down when the ban went away. You know, so again, yes, the Second Amendment allows me to enforce many other amendments because I have the right to defend myself. I don't look at it as a tool of offense, it's a tool of defense. I'm not out here threatening people or things of that nature. And I understand there's always going to be a negative element, but the key is I have the ability to do something about that negative element. Whereas
that's fine.
I don't.
I'm with you, but what you're expressing is a very passionate way that you will be able to say, I voted for John James so that Michigan would have split Senate seats for the next 4 years, so that my vested interest in the Second Amendment was voted on by the Senate. That's what you will be expressing to us. You will be expressing that you didn't want to vote for Brenda Lawrence because you need a House seat from Michigan to shift back to being Republican, because House bills become Senate bills, which become laws. You would have been explaining that to us. You were explaining that the tiebreaker vote is what you would really, what you were voting for. So if XYZ happens with Joe Biden, what he gets his agenda pushed on guns, you would have to have ties in the Senate in order for Joe Biden to make that decision. So I get what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with your passion about that. It's just like, if you are rich, if you make over $400,000 and you think your taxes are going to skyrocket and that's a fear of yours, you want your money in your pocket, then I understand that that's your one button issue that you want to vote against, is raising taxes. But there's levels to where you should vote for that then. So you would be, this conversation wouldn't be about Donald Trump. It would be about Gary Peters compared to John James. This conversation would be completely different if we were talking about that. This conversation would be about our local house or state house in our state senate, because things get passed here first, then it would have to get to federal level, because the state can still pass things, especially under Donald Trump, who he is really hung on to the 10th Amendment. That's the one he really loves, because he looks at the 10th Amendment as it's everybody else's job to do things. I just should sit back. So this is what I would ask Donald Trump to do. The same energy he had for a federal plan for coronavirus, have that same energy with elections. Exercise that 10th Amendment, let every state do what they have to do, then get your ass about the White House on January 21st. Because if you understood civics, then that's what really will be going down from the presidential seat. So I can't vote for somebody that doesn't do those parts of his job well, that doesn't set in motion things like that. Executive orders can be signed by a governor, a mayor, the president, especially in times where we are in crisis. What did he do other than give states the ability to request federal aid, which states already had? He's not granting that. So when I'm talking about somebody doing their job and understanding their job, I have no confidence that this man understands his job. Like, there's no evidence of that. So yes, everything about Joe Biden being president is kind of what we hope or what we think. I have actual evidence for 4 years that he has continually shown, first off, that he's not even just intelligent. He doesn't even have the intelligence to stop, pause, and edit something before he posts it. He doesn't even have time to get a second set of eyes on something. Like, those levels of irresponsibility cannot run our country. So that's for me.
Consequences behind.
So when I'm thinking about policies, and I was talking to somebody about this earlier, it was on my post from earlier. If you are so big on politicians don't do X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to need that same energy for you. So do you come to school board meetings, not because your kid got in trouble, not because you have a gripe against the school board, but do you go to school board meetings to understand what the curriculum is that's voted upon? Do you go to school board meetings to see if any new policies and graduation requirements are being passed? Do you go to city council meetings that are open meetings? And do you go to city council meetings to get information and to speak your truth when you are given your 3 minutes? And at the state level, do you know your lobbyists that can speak at House meetings and Senate meetings for you? Do you know who to contact to get a hold of your senators in Washington and your House representatives? So for all these people that get upset about what politicians feel about them, I sent a letter of recommendation to Gary Peters this week for a student, because I have that ability to contact him because he's our state senator. I go to board meetings, that's part of my job, but even if I'm going to board meetings because I'm serving the community, so that if there's questions from the community, the board's going to ask me to handle that because it's my job. Finally, I got organizations that I'm a part of and associations where I know my lobbyists. I know our state administrative association, we have a lobbyist that every time we have meetings, he updates us on legal briefings. He updates us on things pertinent to school law that are in the House, that are in the Senate for the state. And if I've got a question or if we need to take a stance on something, he's giving me that information. So no, I know a whole bunch of great politicians. I know hundreds of great politicians that work their humps off for people. If people have such a black eye about politicians, it's because they're only looking at Washington, D.C. and aren't looking at their local people. That's just me.
People running for higher office.
Because there are only so many seats available for things. Second, when people make school boards, Yolanda Charles, Southwood High, class of 98, congratulations. Then you run for county commissioner spots. Then you run for certain things. So Brenda Lawrence who's a state representative or for Michigan in D.C. She was the mayor of Southfield.
Right.
So I mean, so yeah, these people do run
You gotta take steps.
for higher positions,
Right.
and they actually work for us. So Brenda Lawrence is a phenomenal person in D.C. And she's not some random person. It's not politicians. No, I said Brenda Lawrence from Southfield, Michigan. We're talking about Garland Gilchrist, who's from Farmington,
Right.
who's our age, who's married to somebody we went to Thompson with. Like, these are politicians. People you should know. They work for you. So if they're not working with
politicians, what I said was I have an issue with Joe Biden.
no, you said every politician would step over you if you were lying in the ground. That's what you said.
I said that I don't understand how people support politicians they don't know. You just referenced politicians you know.
Right.
I don't see how people are out here supporting like the Donald Trumps and they're diehard, almost like cultists for someone they don't know. That's what I'm talking.
But this is
because he embodies the racism that they have.
Hold
on,
on.
He has the right to be out here proud with that bullshit.
I'm with you.
And that's why
It's
their
your
culture is
job to
following
know
that
the
motherfucker.
politician. It's not the politician. The politician did their job to get enough people to know them to vote for them. Now it's your job to know them, and it's your job to get them to work for you. So that's my thing about Donald Trump. No matter how hard Democrats pushed, he was never going to work for us. He openly said to the Democratic Party, I hate you. You are a threat to our American values. He said that. It's just like when you see on Facebook, you don't see people say
that I don't work for you.
Yeah, hold on. You don't see on Facebook with people now spewing things about Democrats. You don't see them saying things like, hey, I can't believe that you want to raise taxes in your city so that you can get roads fixed. Oh, I can't believe that you're paying for an increase in taxes so that the lawn at your state parks can get mowed 3 times a week. You don't see people saying that. But you are going to see somebody throw something inflammatory at a Democratic voter or somebody that is considered liberal. You're going to see them called a baby killer and say you support baby killers. You're going to see them say you want to take my guns. I don't give a shit about your guns because I think you're going to hurt yourself or somebody closer, like by statistics. But they're not taking your guns to give them to me. and just like you said about policies, you can't 100% save anything, or you can't 100% protect anything. So you having your gun doesn't give you a 100% chance of protecting yourself. But my thing that I'm so passionate about is I've never said Republicans were bad. I know that they have a belief system that's different than mine. They have topics that vary. And it used to be, I believe in every school bond, levy, millage. I believe that you should put money into public services. That's why I work in public education. So it doesn't matter where it's at on the ticket. I'm going to vote yes for public services. That's because I think public services lead to a better community, which means that we are a better society. I don't believe that every Republican wants to overturn Roe v. Wade. I don't believe that because I know too many of them that were on the positive side of Roe v. Wade, but they run off on the mouth on Facebook like I didn't know them in college. And I could drop names. You know, the people that talk about following rules, but they got arrested, and I had to help them out in different situations. But then when a black guy gets killed, you should just follow the fucking rules. And that's no disrespect because we all made bad decisions in college, except for when you ran from 402 College Street in Findlay, Ohio in 2001 because the cops knocked on the door and you were 18 years old drinking. You didn't follow the rules, and it would be a shame if you got shot for not following those rules. So what I'm saying for the political process and things like that and people's values, when you have someone that does not even understand, and we brush it off, the responsibility of his role and even his dialogue. the lack of responsibility puts people in harm's way.
And accountability.
The lack
That
of
in there.
respect. Period.
It's just no question for me. So I get my people that want to vote for Joe Jorgensen and vote libertarian. Well, guess what? Why don't you support a libertarian board candidate? Why don't you support a libertarian mayor? You know how many mayor elections are really bipartisan and tend to just be somebody wanting to make their community better that's actually as moderate as could be? But you don't even know your mayor if you live in certain cities. You don't know the difference between your mayor and your township supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
So let's stop, people. Let's stop acting like we're Stacy and we're getting a doctorate in political science and we barely pass civics. Stop trying to be woke and just participate in getting educated. Like, let's stop. That's just me.
But do educate yourself though, because one of the first assignments I give my students when I teach American government is to look up their representative. I have them look up their U.S. representative, their Michigan representative, and who the senators are of the state. And I say, now connect yourself because you can. You need to know those things. That's locally that you need to know. But what I think is important for Johnny to talk about, since we're narrowing in on this topic, is what exactly did Biden plan say to you about firearms? Did it say, I'm taking away all your weapons, I'm taking away specific weapons, I'm going to classify you as a felon if you don't give it up, or you can voluntarily turn them in, or if you keep them, you have to do X, Y, and Z? What did the plan say to make you say, hey, he is constitutionally violating my Second Amendment right?
Well, specifically, he said, I don't have to tell you what the plan is when he was asked what his plan was, specifically with the guns.
That's during but he had it on his website.
His plan is on his website for everything, but
Right.
Go ahead.
But when it comes to the guns, his plan and platform is you should not have them. AR-15s should be illegal. You should not have them. You do not need them.
What other weapons do you have besides the AR-15?
Of the registration,
A whole bunch.
that he wants
He has a whole safe full of them.
for the weapon.
300 pounds.
The universal background check. I don't necessarily have a problem with the universal background check specifically.
Right.
But again, with the registration, I asked to what end, because
Right.
it would just be to create a database, and that
And listen,
be used to take away the weapons, because you know who has them. So you can't just opt to say, I don't have it, because you would have to institute a search warrant.
well, you can't opt to say that anyway if you have one. You
I'm
can
sorry.
never opt to say, you can't opt to say, I don't have a weapon. You can opt to say, you can't ask me that, but you can't say, I don't have it. Those are two totally
I
different
don't
things.
have to answer any questions.
Right.
If you have a database that shows that I have it, then that's a moot point. So again,
Right.
you're looking at it from, he's just not saying he's taking it right here, but he's laying the foundation to do so.
I'm with you. Magneto didn't want the mutant database.
Chip
I'm
away,
with you.
chip away until, oh, it's gone. You know, I don't smoke. Not a smoker. I've never been a smoker. I don't like going to bars and leaving and smelling like smoke. But when the government decided that bars shouldn't have smoking, regardless of what you want to do as a owner of a bar and the patrons that you have in your bar, I didn't really agree with it, because I'm like, well, if this person's a smoker and they want to go to a bar where the owner says that it's okay to smoke there, they should be able to do that. And if you don't smoke and you know that this is a smoking establishment, maybe you shouldn't go there. But to say that you don't have that right anymore, smoking is bad, it causes cancer, I understand that, but people still choose to do it, and that's their choice. So I'm not a fan of laws that restrict choice, you know, especially when it's a choice I'm making for myself. I don't get behind that. So again, yes, he's not going to openly say on, you know, January 22nd, we're taking your guns. Like, no, you have to go through the proper channels. He's going to pass the small laws that restrict magazine restrictions. Anything above a 10-round magazine shouldn't be allowed. Well, 86% of weapons hold more than magazines in it. So they either have to change the foundation of how guns are built and what they hold, or they have to start restricting those weapons. So, you know, like, let's go back to all having revolvers and whatnot. And again, from the criminal's perspective, they're not adhering to any of these laws. So you're only restricting me. So you're doing a situation where the people who are doing bad things can be well armed and have an armament that is more superior to anything I can possess. I'm not a fan of that. So again, I don't agree with the policies on gun control he holds, because I don't see value inherently in them. So again, I'm picking a choice for a person who has a platform that's something that's very true to my heart, he is completely 180 on the other
Right.
side. He's not
I'm
agree.
with it.
He's not
No.
down with that. So anyone else, like where you guys say anybody but Trump, my position was anyone but Biden. If it was any other candidate that is not openly passionate about the fact that I should not be able to possess firearms, I wouldn't have had I wouldn't have had a hard choice, is what I'm saying. You know,
I'm with
so
you.
So he's saying you shouldn't be able to possess no firearms, never be able to protect yourself or your family.
it said
None.
on record
Period.
that I should be allowed to have a shotgun. That's the only firearm that he classifies as, I guess, safe enough for civilians to possess.
Mm.
All right.
Even pistol should not be something that civilians should have. He has said these things openly.
I want to get into a couple things for our roundtable. We got the guns. I get it. My next thing, since I just wanted to transition because I like this.
Yeah.
My next thing that I think is funny about this whole week and everything, because I had to look into it after Lil Wayne, who ain't been the same since Carter 3, but whatever. When Trump rolled out the Platinum Plan, which again, he had all abilities to pass any of these things easily.
Years
And it's not like the House would have stopped the Platinum Plan. So if he wanted the Platinum Plan to get through, that thing would have went through last week.
Because he's done more for Black America than any of the presidents since Abraham Lincoln. So the Platinum Plan should have been here in 2016.
Hey,
but go ahead.
first
Hey,
100
listen,
days, that should have dropped.
Hey,
Should
beyond
have
that,
dropped from day 2.
hey, Lyndon Baines Johnson is just sitting there like, really? For real? Like Civil Rights Act 64 and 68, but I ain't did nothing.
They ain't did nothing.
But we'll move past that because that's just another sign that he didn't pass like high school government, whatever. So I'm going to ask about like the Platinum Plan, which I had to look up, and D said we're going to look at what Joe Biden posted on his website, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I looked up the Platinum Plan, this would blow my mind. You know how long that thing was? 2 pages.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've written abstracts longer than that.
Definitely.
Like the summary of a paper I've written was longer than that.
Right.
Either how minimal did he believe the Black community is that a 2-page document could just wipe out all of these issues we have. 2-page
years of
document.
racism.
Did you look at the timing though? So Biden dropped his Lift Every Voice plan.
It's 900 words.
Trump dropped his Platinum Plan in October.
The other day.
Look at the time.
The other
Look
day.
at the timing.
Pretty much say the other day.
What'd you say, Ken?
Like he pretty much dropped it the other day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you dropping it like right after the first debate.
Right, like come on, like that's another thing about Trump. Like Johnny, you know I love you to death. You're one of the few people I'll take a bullet over. That's been said.
In the left cheek.
Yeah,
I'll
in the
take
left
the
cheek.
right
in
cheek.
the left cheek. Some fleshy thigh, not by the artery. You know, I got you, love you, and I get your passion of why you did what you did, and I don't hold it against you. So don't think that I do. You know, our love, we 20 years deep in friendship. My man, 100 grand.
I created this platform so that we can all say what we actually feel and not feel persecuted for those statements. Like, I am okay.
Oh, I'm with you.
Viewers may not watch my show anymore. That's fine. That's their fair. Offering
But
the loyalty will be here.
Types of talks. If I wasn't the one person here that did something different than everyone else, we wouldn't have anything to talk about tonight.
yeah.
Right.
But my thing is with, like you said, things about the Second Amendment made it personal to you and why you did, voted what you did. Cool, whatever, water under the bridge. I still love you. You my man. So I want to talk about what makes it personal to me, why I could not vote for Trump. A, as a person that looks like this man has shown me that I don't matter. 2, the 3 little people that are your god kids that are downstairs making a lot of noise. He's made it clear that their lives don't matter. We have a 16-year-old that's going to be in adulthood pretty soon that I got to send out in this world. He's shown that he doesn't want that world to be safe for him. And then 2 other behind him. So if for that, it makes it personal. He's okay with, like you said, police being able to fill out some paperwork after they shoot one of us and it be okay. He's shown that he doesn't care about that. He's pretty much when he got asked point blank about white supremacy and about the Proud Boys, which are pretty much people that wanted okay with harming us, killing us, whatever, stand back and stand by. On national TV in front of everybody, not some secret recorded conversation, point blank by a Fox News person of all things, he said it. That's personal to me.
And that's the
they're willing to give you the firearms training to protect yourself from all of those elements.
I get that. But then
no, I'm supposed to be able to expect my
let's
money.
talk about
So
something
I'm
that
ready. My birthday.
let's talk about something that firearms can't protect you from. Climate change. Climate change is a real thing to me. We've had 28 tropical systems. There's one right now on its way to Florida in November. Not July. November.
Not June.
Climate change. Guns can't protect against hurricanes. Guns can't protect against more tornadoes coming through certain areas, including Michigan, that is tornado prone from time to time. That's an important thing. That's the world. That's the future. This election to me was about the future. Fuck myself. I'm going to be okay. I'm an adult. But I have kids going out in this world. This election sets the tone for the future. 4 more years of Trump makes my kids' future hella fucking dangerous on so many levels. From going out in the world, this sensation of these people that were down at the TCF Center, like that, like those people in that crowd.
They left by the
time sensationalizing those people think it's okay to do what they want to do. Those people that attacked that tour bus in, what was it, Texas?
Texas, yeah.
He's essentializing these people to think that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to rip up more.
He didn't tell them it was okay. He said it was American because those were patriots.
People that tried to kidnap the governor, that wanted to shoot police. They were plotting to shoot police.
Thank me for investigations.
Take the governor of Wisconsin, put her on trial, and publicly execute her. This is that man, that orange fucker, supports these people and makes people feel like all of this is okay. And they're ramping up, acting like this is pre-1960 America. And I get where guns can come into play with that. And that's why I'm partially understand that. However, legal gun or unlegal gun, somebody come in my shit, I got something for you. However you want to cut it. So guns is whatever. I'm going to do what I got to do regardless. So I don't care about a law. The law is not going to stop me from defending any guy, defending my family or anybody that I know and love. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, that's why I couldn't vote for that motherfucker. Yeah. Hell no.
But I think even without like voting for him. So like I like Johnny speaking his truth, because one thing is that we could dispel. I don't think Johnny's a coon or a sellout or anything. No. He's got values that align. The problem that has really happened, and this is just me. I'm in an interracial marriage. If you look at my wedding, it was all type of diversity over my wedding party. My main thing is, what do your actions really say for what you feel about me? So when I'm looking at things such as what he believes has helped African Americans and done more for African Americans than ever, than anybody since Lincoln. So listen to the threshold of what it takes to me. You were freed. You were given your freedom to be American citizens by Abraham Lincoln. I have signed a bill for prison reform. He puts those on the same level. Prison reform, emancipation.
And he also advocates for people who are innocent of crimes that they should be put on the death penalty. I mean, again, I'm not saying that this is a good guy.
Yeah, I got it. But it was fine for him to have that opinion as a civilian. It's completely different to have that opinion as an elected official. So that when his feelings were hurt because the world got to see a dramatization of the Central Park Five or the Exonerated Five, when the world got to see that, he got in his feelings about that too. Like first off, and this is no sexist statement, but buddy, let your ex-wives stand out. Like, you got to stop getting in your feelings on Twitter. Like, sorry, it's his ex-wife at some point got to matter. Like, you got to let him drop El Presidente. But the biggest thing for me are even the conservatives that he parades around us and celebrates. They're always doing a chuck and jive. He's got a muscle-bound guy always walking around with a cut-off shirt, with a Make America Great Again hat, speaking in his best suburban ebonics about why he flipped from Democrat to support Trump. He didn't flip to Republican. He flipped to support Trump. He's got blacks at his rallies, and it's not, oh, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to catch your dialogue. I have to join the rock show, and I got to chuck and jive. But it's not just, if they choose to chuck and jive, that's one thing. But he celebrates that minstrel show. He wants you to be there. So like Candace Owens, I can't stomach that human. I can't stomach her because you can have feelings and beliefs that are conservative, but to omit and move on past anything and to have that celebrated as educated, I'm sorry. You know, the only way to be educated is to get higher levels of education, to be well-read, and to move past that and deliver that information. And she doesn't. She doesn't even have an honorary bachelor's from a university if she was spitting such great knowledge. But these are the type of people he celebrates. And I think that is the way that America marginalizes African Americans again. It's just like in certain capacities. All of us probably have heard it before. Well, you speak so well. You don't act like that. You do this.
You talk white.
I got family. I got people that I love that are like, oh, Vernon, you're not like that. Yeah, I am, actually. I really am. It just isn't a need because now I'm a husband, I'm a father, I have a great career. So, yeah. But, no, I listen to gangster rap on the way to work every day. Like, I have to turn my music down when I hit Scripps Road. Like, that's who I am. Like, I listen to the Carter 1, the Carter 2, the Carter 3.
3, 4, 5.
And then this new cat, I don't know who that is. He just needed a check.
And the DZ and T on the way over here.
Right. But, so my thing
took
is,
his brain.
Respect who I am as the norm. That's why with certain people I asked them, how come all those people went down to the TCF Center? Why wasn't nothing boarded up? My friend Buddy, he wants to crack jokes. He posted on his Facebook that the party of compassion and understanding is the reason why buildings are being boarded up if the election doesn't go their way. What? Detroit.
What?
Detroit. I ain't seen the Nike
It wasn't
store.
nothing boarded up in Detroit.
The Nike store in
I live
downtown
here.
Detroit ain't boarded up.
It's not. I
The-
was down here.
Park Plaza isn't blocked off. Like, come on, people. Like, don't believe that Democratic cities aren't burning. Just like I talk about black on black crime. But those are the same people that call you a sheep for wearing a mask. But he spews that it's voter fraud that would take, like, the four of us probably barely could move this back to 8:30 on time. The four of us, but you expect 16 different states to rig an election only in the way that would benefit you at that time? Like, stop it.
With baseless facts.
Hear everything you're saying, and I totally, I like I said, I don't support Donald Trump. It's just that at the end of the day,
Your only way of supporting him is to vote for him, and you did.
It's so much irony in it. It's so much irony.
Climate change and things of that nature, and I do hear you for that. And again, that's why I voted on the lower levels for people who I felt would fight more for those situations. But when it comes to here is a guy, and I can't stress this enough, this is something that's important to me. This person is telling me to my face, regardless of what his website says, I'm not down with that. And if I have an opportunity, I'm going to do everything I can to take that away. And that to me, like, you didn't even have the political shyness that we're typically used to when it comes to politicians that won't say hardline things. I'll do them, but I'm not going to say them. He is emboldened enough to say them, and that was my issue. So again, I'm sitting there, I'm standing there, I'm looking at it, and at the end of the day, I'm just like, you know what? Can't do it. Can't do it.
Well, clearly we're in a bold climate.
And then something's happening down the line that I pretty much felt were gonna happen. It's on me. And at the end of the day, all of the things you referenced outside of a tornado touching down on my head, I have the means to do something about it. So I put my chips on me to protect myself, regardless of what the social climate may be, rather than put my chips on someone who says that they're a nice guy, but at the same time is looking me dead in my eye. Like, hey, this guy sucks. So you're going to take me. But guess what? Now I get to do what I want, and I'm coming for you. So I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. So now I'm the guy. I have to either be the victim so everybody else can be happy, or I can hedge my bet and see what happens. And I would rather see what happens armed than see what happens unarmed. I'm not a coward. I'm not afraid. I go out in the street and I do what I need to do. But I can reference more times than I'd like to, previous to 2006, when I did not have this right, where my life was on the line and it was in someone else's hands because they had a weapon and they were able to tell me what's what. And maybe that's the reason why I've decided to become so passionate about the Second Amendment, because I've never had to fear anyone since. I've never had to be afraid of any situation that I was in since, regardless of where I am or what I have to do. Granted, I carry myself in a manner where I typically don't put myself in unsavory situations to begin with. I don't just lead with my weapon. I have a weapon, I can do whatever I want. I don't live that life. I don't want to use my weapon. I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm a pacifist, to be honest. I have rage issues sometimes, maybe. But at the end of the day, again, no matter what the circumstance, I try to keep myself prepared. And in that light, knowing that I have a dude who is going to go through means to potentially obstruct, marginalize to the point where he could actually infringe is unsavory, because those restrictions, granted, may not even really impact me because I already have firearms. It may actually impact more people who want to get into that world and they're obstructed to try to make things happen for them. But that's their situation and they have to deal with it. But again, like I said, for all of his flubs and all of his nonsense or lack of intelligence, lack of tact, lack of all of these things that are becoming of a president,
you're not going to touch my guys. I'm with it.
I feel like you're going to be protecting and protected regardless of what happens in the White House and who's president, Johnny. I feel like you are going to be protected and stand your ground and protect your family and loved ones. So I don't think, no matter what, that's going to happen.
But Johnny's saying that's the one he's not willing to let happen by chance. And I'm with you.
That's the deal breaker for him.
Now here's my next question for the roundtable. If we're now pretty much, it's almost 10 o'clock. So roughly we are a good 48 hours after a majority of the country closed their polls.
Mm-hmm.
What about these conspiracy theories? Like, man, this is, you all have seen it. This is funny to me because I deal with such large volumes of people as a job, and I need them to work together, and I fail every day at that. But what about these conspiracy theories, and do we think it's actually going to hold water? I know, Stacy, I bounce back and forth to call you Stacy and D.
It don't matter.
But
it don't matter.
I know we're not a major media conglomerate with legal panelists, but where are these lawsuits going to come from? What are they going to stop? What are they going to do? And what evidence is there? And it's so funny because I'm not a lawyer, but people stop saying that I'm allowed to have my opinion. No, you're not. If something is proven as a lie and you said it, that is illegal. if you are under oath, you can't tell a lie. Like, people just think you can just say random stuff. So the president of the United States cannot just say random stuff and it's just his opinion.
No.
There are laws.
But nobody holds him accountable, so he just keeps doing it though. So
yeah. Oh, until he's not president. And until
no, after he's president, it's gonna be even worse. He's gonna keep saying it. It's just not gonna be on the same platform.
Oh,
he'll be in jail in 6 months.
But he'll be
in jail by next summer.
Yeah, but beyond being in jail, I'm still waiting for Hillary to go to jail. I'm still waiting for Obama to go to jail. How about the fact that we're going back to him? He a loser. How about the broken promises? The wall, Hillary being in jail, Obama being in jail,
no
repealing
Affordable Care
Obamacare. Like, I'm just talking about all the broken promises. So even if he promised not to take your gun, hell, the only way to guarantee he wouldn't have your gun taken is for him to say he was going to take it, because he hasn't lived up to anything he said. So I would ask him, say that you're not going to take my gun, Donald Trump, and I know that shit won't get done. My second amendment
he's actually passed anti-gun law. Like, he restricted bump stops. So it's not that Donald Trump is a quote-unquote pro-gun president, and I know the NRA likes to promote him that way, but that's not really the case. He has even said himself that he supports red flag laws, which I think are terrible.
Yeah, I'm just joking, man. I'm just.
But that's like, I'm at least acknowledging the fact that I am aware of many of the issues that you're bringing up, and I do appreciate it. It's just that when it comes to the brass tacks, anytime that Biden is questioned on this fact, it's either I don't have to answer you, or yes, I'm going to screw you. So it's just like,
I'm with you.
You know, it's tough. But like, you know, I have kind of been stuck in the conversation all night. And I feel bad because Ken and Stacey haven't really been able to say much. So
I want Stacey's opinion about the conspiracies, because we got buddies, friends.
I'm
Why are they not in here? Like this? Why?
I don't know.
Buddy, big time. He big time.
Matthew is in the comments, or he was in the comments earlier. I don't know where Buddy is.
Like, I really wanted them to be in here.
No,
I don't know.
That's the reason I took this invite. I wanted them to be in here.
But
I'm a factual person. I need receipts. You know what I'm saying? I need receipts. I'm a factual person, so I don't even know if
I'm beyond receipts. I need common sense.
Yeah, that too.
I need common sense. Let's start there.
But if you can't execute your common sense, you can at least execute your literacy to read. I'm gonna say that. Okay. Now I don't know if I ever told y'all this, but I'm a law school reject. So I need facts. I need evidence. I need receipts. I need confirmation. I can't just believe anything in these fly-by-night conspiracies and these memes with no facts to back it up. Because you know what they say, if you don't stand firm for something, you'll fall for anything. So I'm not trying to walk around here being an educated fool or a fool. I need facts. I need a better understanding. I need to know. So conspiracy theories to me are just like, you know, crazy opinions to cope with not being able to accept reality, or to restructure or reshape what you think your reality should be. So I don't really feed into that. When I hear conspiracy theories, they make me say, Stacey, it's time to do more research, because what's going on? That's what conspiracy theories say to me. Now, you can have like a solid theory based on research or what history has showed. You can have that. But the conspiracy theory based on like slander, libel, BS, no solid ground, no actual evidence, no facts, no occurrences, is pointless.
You talk about slander and libel, which are two laws that say that you can't say things. So those aren't violations of the First Amendment, but those are giving responsibilities beyond the First Amendment.
Accountability for what you say.
Yeah. So you can't just say anything. But my one thing that I think is interesting, and I think it was on like NPR, where in Michigan, you wanted the count to stop when you were ahead. In Arizona, because you're behind, you want them to keep counting. And the one thing I'd say that never makes sense to me is, if the Democrats were working this hard to steal the election, why didn't they steal Ohio, which should have been on the fence? Why didn't Florida just go outright, and Dade County just go outright to Biden? if they were trying to steal something. And that's what I mentioned in the comment earlier. I'm vocal. I wasn't going to vote for Donald Trump. Where are my extra ballots? Benson,
Right.
you didn't send me my 5 ballots, but you sent some Republican 5 ballots. That don't even make sense. Now
I
he
didn't
got a
get
chance
one.
to vote 5 times for Trump, and I get to only vote once. How does that make sense?
I didn't get one.
Like, oh, you didn't apply for it?
No.
Oh, well, that's why you
you-
had to do the application.
Shucks.
But I'm saying, but he was saying like people that didn't apply for it was getting them, and I'm
Because
like, well,
he's making it up.
I'm like, I didn't get
making
mine.
it up.
Like, where did mine go?
You have to apply for it.
You got to apply for it. Yeah.
No, but he was saying that people didn't apply got them. I'm like, if that's the case, then where's mine?
Think about this guy named
Oh, I get it.
Willie. I can't remember his last name. It's like maybe Willie Bryant. And apparently he was born in 1920 and died in 1984. And if you go on Michigan's voter registry and put in his information, you see that he was issued a absentee ballot that was submitted on the second. But that does not mean that that vote was actually counted.
Hold on.
Someone maybe gave it.
I'm with you. But William Bryant, that is as we would call it, 2 traditional spellings of 2 traditional names.
You have to put in.
You're not a unique Johnny Johnson. I don't want to tell you that.
I'm just saying, but you got to
You're
put
not
in
a unique
birth,
so
zip code, all that stuff.
in a database. But those things can get inherently messed up because of records. Because I can be Willie D. Bryant and I'm Willie Dominic Bryant. I'm Willie Dwayne Bryant. I'm William. Like, there's so many factors to that for record keeping.
His name was Johnny D. Johnson. I got one of his paychecks once when I moved out on my own.
Hold on. Since we're talking about things like that, this is no disrespect. I can actually say this is not made up. I know someone who knows someone. My wife's grandmother passed away because she earned income in 2018, and that means taxes had to be filed in 2019. She received a check during the bailout, the stimulus. That isn't saying that they're just mailing fake money. No, it's saying that records show that a person, because we don't have records that compromise it, should be receiving this, and we should send those things back. If you got absentee ballots from your previous homeowner, that makes sense if they have never registered anywhere else, if they've never taken their name out of the database. They have to take action in order to not receive that mail. So that's not a conspiracy. That's lack of citizens doing their job. But I think it's interesting that all of these anecdotal stories never impact the person directly. And I'll talk about the polls. And I don't know if you all if people are in the comments, I don't know who is a first-time voter would get their ballot, which says on it to fill out in a ballpoint pen, in the voting booths that I've ever gone to, which I haven't gone to since I've been given absentee.
Please fill out in blue or black ink pen.
And then it's even a blue or black ink pen fixed to
in the booth.
The booth.
In the
little
booth.
string.
Yeah.
All of these things. So all these people saying I was in line, they gave me a Sharpie. First off, unless you're wearing a Make America Great Again Donald Trump shirt and hat,
But you aren't allowed to.
they shouldn't, which you're not allowed to, they shouldn't even know who you're voting for. So how do they only pick the Republicans to take their ballots? That wouldn't make sense. Secondly, you are telling me that in 2020, where I was able to go on and see if my ballot was received under my name and see if my vote counted, I kept asking these made up people, I'll start to name you if I wanted to be disrespectful, saying my vote didn't count, my vote, just check it. And then you should be posting a screenshot of your name from the Secretary of State saying that you didn't vote. And you should immediately contact your city clerk, politician, local, you probably voted for, your city clerk, you should contact them and wonder what the discrepancy is. So people are talking about the Democratic Party. So it would make no sense that there is voter fraud in Lowell, Michigan, a highly Republican area with a Republican city clerk, that you're going to tell me the Democrats got involved there and swung BS votes? You have to be a certain type of, and I'm not going to be politically correct and say ignorance just means unknowing. You have to be willfully gullible or just that damn stupid to believe these things.
The
And I
latter.
hope some of you all hear that.
Really want to believe it because it makes you.
No. Stupid really exists. There are stupid people in the world.
I'm just saying, but like a lot of people that are like what they call the Trumpers and whatnot, they are drinking.
Lower educated. They're stupid.
They want to believe these things. So
No,
it's
it's
like,
not that they want to believe it. They're too dumb to understand that circumstances don't happen. They don't understand mutually exclusive events. They don't understand certain
I can
things.
see what's happening in front of me, and I can still choose to not believe it because I don't want to. And I feel like it's a large
It's lack of understanding of deductive reasoning. It's all these things like they didn't do well in thinking. I'm not going to be nice about that. And it's people I know that we've talked to. Those are the ones that I'm saying are just willing to believe it.
That's what I'm saying.
But-
I mean, it's like I know people that are like, in management positions, like, financial managers and things of this nature. It's like you can't just say that they're dumb. It's just like they are literally choosing to believe these things that Donald Trump says because he just says wild things, and it's like they don't apply the critical nature to it. It's just he's saying it. I want to believe it. I'm done. That's where it stops. I don't have to look into it further. I'm not going to question it because I'm okay with that belief. And,
or when somebody asks for receipts, you say, I don't have to spoon feed you.
Yeah, I don't have receipts. Just watch CNN, Fox,
That's your
MS,
man's though.
CNN,
That's your man's though.
That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback.
That's your man. You watch his blind side. He had his blind side.
dry fat. And I'm just like,
You was his Michael Orr.
gel pen.
I mean, the cliche is real. Ignorance is bliss, and some people purposefully choose to be ignorant. That's what they want to do.
You want to believe it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's what you want to believe. It's almost like I call it the cult 45 syndrome, where you choose to blindly follow because that's a part of who you are. You feel like, for example, I'm a diehard Republican and he represents what I believe and all my beliefs. So I'm going to follow whatever he's saying. I'm not going to question it because that's how I roll. You got people who like that.
45 for a second. I thought you were about to disparage like Billy D. Williams. I'm like,
No. Not
real.
no, let me be very clear.
Not bad, though.
Not C-O-L-T, I mean C-U-L-T, cult
Cult.
45 and
Like
45.
Wake
If the president was tweeting, he
45th
would put
president.
C-O-L-T. He would have messed that up too.
Cult, C-U-L-T, 45.
Cold.
And then they kind of like talk about deductive reasoning, like in things they don't want to believe. Like, look at the votes that are still out there, like because this election is not finalized, quote unquote.
Right.
This is my thing. My son, election night, I forget what state it was. You know how they show like the percentages on the screen.
Yeah.
It was one of the states that Trump was up, but they said Biden won. My son in turn asked, how?
Right.
I said, because you have to look at it this way. Say if there's 15 counties, 10 of those are majority Democrat and 3 are Republican. If you count those Republicans first, before we get to Democrats, you technically have a lead right now. But if you know everything else is for that other person, you can roll with the assumption this is what's happening, and you call it.
Right.
And that's how a lot of those states got calls early, like California, Oregon, the whole West Coast, pretty much.
But
As soon as they polls closed, they turned blue. And
the thing that was
teach him that. And then I was like, that's how it works. And he was like, oh, okay. He's 16. He got that immediately.
Right.
However, we have these states, Georgia, the part of Arizona, the parts of Pennsylvania. Everything they're selling you, all these votes that are still out there are from primarily Democratic counties. They're telling you this. Hey, this is what's left, and this is where it's coming from. Even with Michigan.
It's not even like majority. It is vast majority.
Like 90-10, 80-20.
Yeah, and those have the highest volume of votes. Like, I know that there is probably going to be a chance that he receives 70% of 20,000. That's
Yeah.
14,000 votes we can say he should be getting. If you're only up by 15 votes,
Like it's mathematically, and like it's a good mathematical assumption.
yes.
So what's about to
You
happen?
take those stats and you take that information, and if you were someone who wants the opposite outcome, what do you do with that?
But it's math.
Flip it.
I know
That's your narrative.
you're
It's
refutable,
whole math. You can't dispute whole math.
right?
Math is
You
finite.
have left this conspiracy. That's
No.
all you have left.
Like Vernon said, I think you were
Math
saying
is finite.
ago,
It's
Isaac
fine.
Newton hasn't came out with anything new.
Change the numbers.
And you went through the mathematical
That's your only real defense.
answers.
That's your ammo.
It's math.
If I'm losing, I shouldn't be losing because I don't want to lose. So something has to be amiss.
But it's math.
No, he said it. He said if I lose the election, it's rigged. He's
Right.
been saying it for
And we're ignoring
what,
mathematics.
5 months.
And
Like,
you
how
He's
do
been
we-
saying it for 4 years. He was saying it before the previous one.
Oh yeah, that time he was saying that
Hold on.
20. Yeah,
Hillary
okay.
undressed him
Yeah.
during one debate 4 years ago where she said, this is a man that when he didn't win an Emmy, he said it was rigged. This is a man that recently said, I didn't win the Nobel Prize because it's rigged. You were nominated by your friend. Nomination standard is like this low for Nobel Prize. Like you were the only fool that thought, because Fox News said, oh, nobody talks about him being nominated for a Nobel Prize. Man, there's a guy, Robert Schiller from
We in a
Scottsdale
double
High
crisis.
has
Ain't
a
nobody
Nobel Prize
thinking
in
about that.
economics. But that comes with work, and you have to explain why you, whatever. But here's the other thing that I think is funny is when people are looking at it, because I think we have a better scope of things because Detroit is so drastic, and it's happened that way all the time. So we go to every election for president, whether if we're looking at our adulthood, whether it's Bush versus Gore, whether it's Bush versus Kerry, whether it's Obama in his 2 elections, major populous cities are always reporting last. First off, because of the volume of votes.
Exactly.
Secondly, because they have more people, less precincts, longer lines. It's so many factors that have existed all the time. It's not shocking. It's like grading papers. If I have a class of 8 kids, I can return graded tests faster than my class of 32 kids.
Right.
So the
Again,
feedback
common sense.
that you're getting is because it's easier to vote. If I'm in a county with 600 voters, I can turn my numbers in real quick.
Right.
But in a county with
600,000.
600,000, no, that's a city. When you're looking at a county,
Oh yeah, we was. Yeah, I'm talking about Detroit, the county.
in
Yeah.
Michigan, Wayne County had almost 1 million voters,
Right.
or over 1 million.
Over 1 million, because we have 10 million in Michigan, and they're saying Wayne County is like the largest county. So
And you're talking about 23% of your votes are coming from one county. So people
Right.
were so shocked. I was talking to friends that live in Ohio and everything, and they're trying to drink the Kool-Aid. Like, I don't understand what's happening in Michigan. Why did they call Michigan? I said, you have about 1 million, I wouldn't say 1 million. You have about 600,000 votes out there by percentages that are flowing throughout the whole state. Joe Biden is at least going to take 400,000 of those. And when you're looking at him taking 400,000 of those votes at minimum, and you're looking at a 100,000 vote lead, naturally you could say he's going to win this by 300,000. But I think what else is telling about this election cycle, Donald Trump is losing the popular vote by 3 points.
It's almost 5 million people.
5 million people. Let's go through this. That is half the population of the state of Michigan, who gets 16 electoral votes.
right.
Half of the state population. I mean, there are probably, and this is off math right now, but I would guarantee that there are probably somewhere between 30 and 35 states whose population is smaller than the difference in the presidential election right now.
Right.
35 states are smaller than how many more people in America voted for Joe Biden? Just flat numbers.
Right.
So the
And
person
look at the difference. That's 2 million more than the difference. 3 million more than the difference was between Hillary and Trump in the popular vote.
he was big time loser. Now, what he can go home and hopefully sleep well at night that he gave good college try. He even got 7 million votes, almost 8 million votes more this election than he did the last one.
Right, because more voter turnout. It was
But by
150 million
percentage,
voters that
it's
turned
not
out.
the same thing. The reason why that election happened in 16 wasn't because he was good. It wasn't because of Republican values. I think that he would have lost by 8 points if people believed that there was a chance he would lose. So a lot of people in Wayne County didn't vote. A lot of
Right.
people in Gwinnett County, in Fulton County,
Right.
in Georgia, did not vote. And
Right.
that's why, if he's talking about the blue wave, he is real stupid, because the blue wave isn't a small one. It developed in the middle of the ocean in 2018.
That's
And
true.
then it's continued to grow. So the more people that talk shit about AOC, you shouldn't even know who AOC is if it wasn't for the 2016 election. That's why we have AOC. That's why we have this progressive movement of
Yeah, it was
Democrats.
it was a very historical election for women in politics.
Right.
A lot of women came into, especially the House, so that made a difference and kind of started shifting things as well.
You wouldn't
But then
even
you
bitch
look at-
about Nancy Pelosi if there was no blue wave. You wouldn't
yeah,
even have it.
right, because you had the House until 2018. But then looking at voter turnout, it was showing that in the 2016 election, I think it was around 135 or 136 million that voted. And this election, they were showing it was around 150 million that voted. And it may be more that's coming up as they continue to, calculate. So you're showing a higher voting percentage. And it might be in part not only because of how divisive the nation is and what's going on, but also because voting absentees to some people is easier than going to the polls and standing in long lines and trying to rearrange their schedules and all of that. And when you're voting absentee, you actually have time to sit down and research the candidates and understand what's going on.
You're getting such quality. This is just my opinion. You're getting quality of a vote with the ability to do absentee than you are. And even for me, like somebody said, well, you should just take the time to go vote and everything. So I look back at him, I'm like, what? Now, because of coronavirus and everything, I probably could have stepped away. But in my job, I work in Lake Orion. I live 45 minutes away. I leave for work at 6 a.m., 6:15 at latest. Polls aren't open. So by the time I get to work, okay, I'm doing some work, whatever. By the time I'm leaving work, it may be 7. So I have to rush home to vote, which is happened. But the convenience to not even have to rush, the convenience to know that my vote counts, to exercise my right to vote is the key. So I talked to this one person. She deleted me on everything because, she was one of those people that talk about nuclear families and ain't married. I can't talk about that. She ain't got no kids. She ain't got no response. I don't even, it's like me talking about people tell me about football that play tennis. I don't get that, but whatever. She won't hear this. Hopefully people at Hines Park CrossFit let her know I'm talking about her like a dog. But this genius that she is, when we're talking about it, she said, well, it's American to go to the polls, stand there and vote. No, it's American to vote. To vote. There is nothing in the Constitution that says you have to vote and stand. You have to vote and be at a location. Like, do you know what polling places are? Elementary schools, churches, community centers, like anywhere where they can fit humans. And you know who works those? People that are retired that just want to do their civic duty. Like, stop it. Vote. That's why you didn't see the NFL and the NBA say vote blue. They didn't say vote red. They said vote. If you want change, if you don't like things, vote. That's what shifted against Donald Trump. But I'm going to help out my other conservative friends that are kind of shocked. Why are you shocked that where Senator McCain was from flipped to blue when you talked about him like a dog?
After death.
After that, like, why are you shocked by that?
Yeah.
Why are you shocked that in Georgia, where you had the mayor of Atlanta fighting with the governor of Georgia about saving lives. Why are you shocked that Atlanta is overwhelmingly going to support their governor? Why was Illinois called like?
Don't forget that Georgia has Stacey Abrams. Now you know what happened, but you know how she's been active since then.
It was like this close.
Yeah.
Georgia's down to 1,700.
Yeah, it's just so many things that are like you would. I mean, like you're saying, Johnny, I call him dumb. He has to willfully be believing that, even though it's in his face, man, I really might have botched this. Like, I messed this up talking about Dem-run cities are who's voting against you. And guess what? There's more people in those. That means more voters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can see across the entire country, like all the major cities were going blue, and that's where the most people are. It was really fascinating to see that breakdown on the map. And I feel like, people were talking about, oh, well, I don't believe that Biden, got this many people to vote for him, the record numbers. Like, no, Donald Trump got a lot of people to vote against him.
Oh,
yeah.
So
you can look at it either way. It's still the same turnout.
Right.
Yeah, they're both true.
Like, I guess for me, when it comes to a lot of people that watch my show, and it's like I was really hesitant to even do I even want to talk about this? Because I'm like, are people just going to tune out because I don't have an opinion that aligns with theirs? And I'm like, that's literally the whole point of why I do this. Like, again, for me, I'm like, well, at the end of the day, he sucks. Yes, he does. But I can tolerate his failure on a personal level for me, for my bubble. Like, I do vote, locally, and I was more concerned with those picks and things of that nature, judges and stuff like that, but for the presidency, it's just like, I don't want a guy who is pushing, regardless of whether he can accomplish it or not, he is still pushing for agendas that directly go against me.
Right.
I had to make my final decision. It was a tough decision. Like, people had been asking me, like, well, who are you voting for? Like, honestly,
I know it was a tough decision because we watched you go back and forth about it. Like, we talked about it.
It really hurt. And at the end of the day, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm not, people are, like, I saw in the comments, a couple people said, well, how do you say you don't support him, but you support him? I'm like, well, if I didn't vote for him, and let's say I voted for Joe Jorgensen or something like that, I know that vote's not going to get in anywhere. So if my ultimate agenda is to not have Joe Biden as president because I feel like he is too far against who I am and what I believe in, I have to vote for the person I think that may actually be. And I would be comfortable. I don't have kids. So I guess I can't conceptualize on your level, Ken, or how you feel about how you approach the situation. I'm not an educator. I'm not someone in public office. I don't deal in those things. I deal in my small pocket world. And prior to my ability to self-defend with a firearm, because, I handled myself with my other guns, like Vernon likes to call it, prior to that. But again, when I was able to defend myself in that manner, it changed my life. And for me personally, it gave me purpose, because my ability to become a trainer and teach others how to properly utilize the Second Amendment has been really one of my few positive qualities I could say I've given back to the community. So it's like, here's a guy that's literally saying, all right, Johnny, here's this thing that you do that almost identifies as who you are, and I don't like it, and we're going to shut that down. And I got a problem with that. Like, you are literally attacking my foundation of life. And it's not just about, well, Johnny just wants to have a bunch of guns, or Johnny has to have a gun. It's not that. It's that this is what I self-identify with. It would be like if, women's rights when it comes to, like, children, their body and ability to choose. Like, if I had a stake in that, my vote would probably be different. Like you said, you don't care about the guns because it's not a hot button issue for you. These other items are more important. But when you look internally, it's like, well, do I place a vote for other people? But because I thought voting was for me, my voice, and what I feel. So
and that's the thing too. You did what your voting is supposed to be. Voting is supposed to be about what you feel about personally. And I'll say this: you're the only person, and I mean this, not exaggerating. You're the only person that I know that voted for Trump that had a common sense approach to it, and it made sense to the point that I'm not angry. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I'm like, I don't. You did it, and your reason is cool. I don't care. Not bad. I don't feel no kind of way about it, regardless about how I feel Trump represents my personal stuff. You voting for him for your reasons doesn't make me feel no kind of way one way or the other.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying? That's what voting is supposed to be, for your choice. You, based off your life, you made your vote based off your life, which you were supposed to do. Cool.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think people need to understand that. If anybody wants to feel any kind of way about you for your vote, they need to understand that's the principle of voting. Voting for what affects your life.
So feel however you like to feel.
Right. But Johnny, the one thing now this is my real question. Especially when you're looking at like your feelings for Biden and everything, do you think part of it is perspective? So this is, for me, it's hard to see a Republican candidate that I may not, especially now, that I may not align Donald Trump's feelings with. It's hard to see a Republican candidate that I won't align their feelings of Roe v. Wade against. So I'm already going to take in what I perceive their agenda is, what I perceive their feelings are, rather than even acknowledging their plan and their pathway. Do you think sometimes it's perspective? Because there was a great question in the comments. Is there someone that is pro-choice and pro-Second Amendment? And I said a lot of moderates are. But I think...
I mean, I'm pro-choice, and I don't want to see people's Second Amendment right infringed. I really don't think it's going to be as deep as we think it's going to be, because if it's a constitutional challenge, the court, being conservative, is not letting that go down.
Right.
You know, it's going to be a lot of lawsuits that come if he try to create laws that are infringing. You got the NRA that's ready, you know what I'm saying, to bring those lawsuits. So I personally don't think it's going to go down the slippery slope that some fear it will.
But if you're that person that the court is actually having to reference because you've already been infringed, you are laying on the shield for that to happen. That's the issue. So, like, all those people that had those red flag laws invoked against them, they lost, and they had to wait for it to get rectified. I'm not in a position to want to have to wait after being infringed to get it rectified. So, but person of perspective,
I'm saying before it even passes as a law, I'm saying him trying to get it passed.
Like, there's not enough people, you know, because it doesn't affect enough people to where they would even recognize that it could be a potential problem. You know, legislating rights, when you were advocating taking rights, that's a slippery slope, because whatever rights being taken may not affect you. So you're like, okay, well, it is what it is, until you get to that right that you do like. It's like, hey, you know, chocolate is killing people. We need to stop. We need to ban chocolate. And you're like, well, hold on here. I like chocolate. Now I have a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with all those other laws getting taken away, though, because they didn't affect me. So it's like, you know, when it comes to Biden, you know, if he was the prototypical type of politician that essentially evaded these issues, like, I'm not going to talk about this, or I don't have a direct opinion that I'd like to discuss openly about this, I have no problem. You know, because Obama, like, coming out of Illinois, he made it very clear, I'm not a fan of guns. He made it very clear. And he did attempt to pass laws that did not go through. However, you know, he wasn't party. Barack Obama was not looking at the Second Amendment and the people that support it like, yo, we're not on the same page, and I'm going to try to win. He never did that. You know, Bill Clinton, the assault weapon ban was active under his presidency. But again, even he was not the guy that was saying, like, you know, can't have it, can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, George W. Bush is the reason why I'm able to carry a firearm concealed. He was the president that he actually pushed to get that passed. You know, so at the end of the day, like I said, when it comes to him and his position on it, he's just been so vocal for so many years. It's not like this just happened. Oh, I'm running for president. By the way, we got to do this about the Second Amendment. Like, anytime he's been asked about this subject, he's had an opinion that I don't agree with every time. Regardless of what the verbiage may say, the plan that's enacted, and how he wants to actually do it, he has said out of his mouth, I want to accomplish this goal. Now, the means that he chooses to do so is not clear. So I have to basically stand on guard. What type of shenanigans is he going to try to infringe on this right subtly enough to where 4 years down the line, I look back and wait a minute, how did I lose access to all of these things? Oh, so again, I mean, like I said, is it going to happen? Probably not, because this country was founded on the firearm. So it's very unlikely that it's going to go away. I understand that. But talk about the answer of two evils. Like, he's evil for all of the reasons that everyone's brought up tonight. Donald Trump, he's a terrible guy in very
a whole lot of
open ways. He's not even shy. But here's another guy that I feel like is benefiting from the fact that Donald Trump is so polarizing that he can get in and push these agendas because he's going against someone who is unilaterally hated by so many. So if this is not Donald Trump running against Joe Biden would not be winning right now. So that's the thing. It's like Donald Trump, he's done himself no favors, none whatsoever. And that's what broke me. Like, George W. Bush didn't do any favors for his party as a president that allowed the blue wave to take over. And a lot of Republicans lost their job literally because they were Republican. Because a lot of people went in and was like, Democrat, done, out. Yeah. So do I want to take a chance looking at the social climate? Because we're talking today after looking at the polls, looking at the actual votes, not poll questions, actual votes. We're looking at that now. But when you're standing in that booth, is there going to be another blue wave? Is Donald Trump hated enough where a lot of these seats could flip because people are going to lose their jobs because Donald Trump has been an ass for 4 years and rubbed a lot of people the wrong way? So I'm standing here like, all right, I could make the right choice and vote for Biden, but also at the same time compromise myself to no end, to the point where I may at a point have to make a choice. I'm either going to do what this man is saying, or I would effectively be classified as a criminal. Do I want to have to live a life where potentially I have to now work outside of the law knowingly? Because I'm not a guy who wants to have a burner gun, Ken. I'm not a dude that feels I should have to have a burner gun because I should be able to use my firearm.
I'm trying to be an outlaw out here.
But John,
if the laws change to the point where I can no longer do that, and now I have to be basically an outlaw or comply. So I have to make that choice. Am I going to comply or am I going to be an outlaw? And now I have to go through means to try to backdoor things, to make things happen in my favor, to continue living the life that I've been living, or just give it up.
But Johnny,
yes,
I'm with you. But here's the thing about like Supreme Court decisions and how it impacts laws and things like that. I don't think that and I'm just saying overarchingly, I get the Joe Biden thing. If Democrats, and I was kind of give that umbrella term, if Democrats wanted to truly attack the Second Amendment, it would start locally. So if I'm looking at, say, school law, there's a lot of case law that's big in schools. So like Tinker versus Des Moines. And when these things happen, it's because a kid gets suspended from school from something, whether it's Tinker versus Des Moines, TLO, like kids get in trouble at school. What happens is they want to overturn their school discipline. That gets shut down. They want to appeal to their school discipline. So then they take it to the courts. And when the courts hear it and they want their record from school expunged, the next thing that happens is the courts say, well, we err on the side of board policy. Well, that's how it goes higher. So you made a statement earlier, I have to violate the law. No, you could just violate an ordinance. You could get a citation. You could get any form of just registering, where then you go to court and say, I had to register. That's a violation of my Second Amendment right. The lower courts will determine if you are right about that, or if they side with whatever policy, ordinance, law that you violated. Then it gets up to the Supreme Court. So it's not, the president of the United States doesn't become Thanos and snap his fingers and all of a sudden amendments are gone.
It's public opinion.
There will have to be another amendment.
I understand.
And I actually have something that, and there's something that goes along with that too, though.
From what's being happened.
But there's something that goes along with that too, though. because we're talking about court judicial system. Donald Trump has appointed more judges in his
in the history
than anybody by
in
far.
3.5 years.
Like by far. So again, for things to
Over
get
200.
Thanos level with your guns, it's gotta get through so many red judges, and we know it ain't happening. The Supreme Court is 5-4
doing the same thing
in favor of Republican favorite things right now.
You're right, Johnny. I agree. What can stop that from happening is the fact that he won't have enough time in office to make those overarching changes.
Right.
Appeals was tied us up for years.
It's just like the Supreme Court. The reason why the Supreme Court flipped so hard is because the Republican Senate stopped an appointment, and you already saw two people that were going to leave within the next 4 years. That was potentially. You knew one was going to leave, and you knew that one was in her 80s. And so you naturally thought that at any given moment, there could be two appointments.
Right.
So that's what really changed those things, what changed those decisions. That was the president and the Senate and the party making a decision on how they want things to go.
Exactly.
But as much as that's kind of unfair, that is democracy. Now, I wouldn't choose to be a hypocrite if I'm running for office. If I'm trying to get public faith, I shouldn't show anything that says I'm a hypocrite. Because here's the thing about Mitch McConnell, all these other people, for namesake and for running purposes, nobody opposed them in their primaries. But when you're running against your same party, and people can now hang over these decisions, when they can say like, oh, remember when this guy didn't just violated our belief and our faith in him, that's when people lose their seats in Congress. And they don't lose their job just because they're Republican. Cabinet members do, just like they would with any change in regime. So if you go Republican to Republican, you're probably going to have a completely new cabinet. But I think overall, we've had this great discussion about who we voted for specifically. And I think looking at the election process right now, I think the best thing for America is understanding that outliers exist, but the democracy falls within one standard deviation of the mean. Meaning, it's not the person that has this extreme of one topic that they're voting for. It's the people that can say, all right, the average person is voting on 6 topics. So if you have 4 that you feel left or right, you might be closer to the mean. And candidates come to the mean. That's one thing about Joe Biden, that he wasn't Bernie, he wasn't Elizabeth Warren. He was as close to a moderate candidate as
he actually
possible.
Is more moderate than Democrat.
So I get what you're saying about guns.
Or liberal.
But he is so much near the middle. And that's what they talked about, is he was taking votes in areas because he was actually aligned with so many people, whether Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, he has high favor over bipartisan. He can work across the line.
I agree. It's just that unfortunately, where he is extreme is the factor that affects me.
But you're an outlier when we're talking about
you're
voting
2 standard
practices.
deviations.
Yeah, you're an outlier when we talk about practices on the spectrum.
You're 2 standard deviations out. Like you're a 5%. You know,
right?
You're
right. No, seriously.
I'm not talking about 5%
nation. Statistics.
You're a 5%. You are one. You've expressed it eloquently. You are literally a 1-issue voter. There's 1-issue voters on the Republican side for taxes. The moment somebody
it's pro-lifers. There's people who say I'm pro-lifer, so I'll always vote Republican. Period.
So it doesn't matter. Like one-issue voters are 1-issue voters. I don't care if I'm raising taxes and I say, listen, I'm gonna raise your taxes 10%, and you get a free car and you will never have to make a car payment. The fact that you said you're gonna raise my taxes, I don't believe it. I'm not gonna vote for you. That's a 1-issue voter.
Right.
But in the African American community, especially, it is a responsibility that has started to happen. You have to be well versed, and you got to be more than a one. And I'm not saying this for you. I'm saying the two form, not the VU form of you. You have to be more than a one issue voter for African Americans because so many things are big. So I will say this: prison reform is a big issue because we are only so many degrees of separation from the judicial system.
Facts.
When you are education is a big issue, especially in high African American populations.
My dissertation is about that.
All of these things have to become the economy. But I think where else people lose things is people say economy, talking about 401ks. If you're a public employee, you don't even have a 401k. You have a Roth IRA.
You barely got a pension if you lucky.
You got a 403b. Like you don't even have these things. But when we're looking at the wage gap, and I think it was our conversation that was great when people talk about like Biden taxes on the rich. Well, people are looking at the trickle down effect. Well, what's going to happen with the employee? If I have 5 employees and they're making $12 an hour, and I get more taxes, so I want to take their $12 an hour, and instead of that, I want to, pay them $10 an hour because I have these higher taxes. That's not about my taxes. That's about me. I'm
your profit. You are worried about
your bottom line.
I'm more right. So when we try and raise minimum wage to $15, I don't agree with that because I think that it's going to have a different adverse effect, meaning it's not going to help the teenager trying to get a job. It's just going to change the employee pool. So now you're going to have college students, you're going to have 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds applying for $15 an hour jobs, as opposed to kids working at McDonald's. You're going to have a 35-year-old because they're going to be getting those same comparable wages. But that comes from the wage gap that we have in America during these great economic times. So it's about actually, when people say you vote on policy, stop it. Because you don't even know how policy is made. Like, people's one conspiracy comes with, oh my God, how is the COVID CARES Act, how was that initiated in 2019 in January? Because they just added it to another bill where money was earmarked for stuff. It's like people think that school bonds can pay for a new football field if it wasn't in the bond. No, you can't. We got to educate ourselves, not on policy. We have to educate ourselves on the system, and we have to educate ourselves on impact rather than the policies, because half of the things that these politicians do say when they're running, they are selling hopes and dreams. What you need to analyze is the plan for accomplishing these hopes and dreams. If the plan is talked about going through this level at the House and then this level at the Senate and getting money from this entity that already exists, that's how you can see these plans matriculate. But just like in 16, if Mexico was going to build the wall, that doesn't really exist. It doesn't exist.
If you want to go on the plan and his plan is ultimately vague, then I would guess I would have to make the assumption that if he doesn't have a defined plan on his passion project of restricting my gun laws, that I should assume that there isn't going to be a plan against my guns because he has no plan to actually make it work. Is that?
I would say that's closer in line. I would say that because, go back to Schoolhouse Rock. Well, I'm only a bill.
Exactly.
I can only move so much. So even that's what Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders did such a good job in the primaries of explaining how they were actually going to get this money in order to pay for things. They did the math. If we tax for people that make $50 million, if I take $1 for every million over 50. So if I take $1 from these billionaires, then we should be able to have money that we can earmark
that we can create these
for
plans
student
for
loan debt.
health cares and student loan
That's a
debt,
good plan.
free education.
If Donald Trump said,
Let me ask you
what
this.
I'm going to do is I'm going to raise,
Let me just ask this quick question.
Yeah.
If that is the case, and if these things are true, which they sound to be, based on logic and reason, why would he even say the things that he said about the Second Amendment? If you know you don't honestly have a stake to make these changes, why upset and hit the hornet's nest with your bat? And actually, he really just pissed in it, to be honest with you.
Right.
Why would you take an attack route against these people who could potentially be supporters and voters for you if you know that you don't have the means to actually do it? Why would you make a threat?
I think it,
Because the
right.
intent, it's not a threat, it's his intent
That
is
was a
there.
threat.
My intent
Threat
is to
needs to
carry
be my
it
weapon.
out.
Right.
My intent is to carry it out, but I may not be able to. Every elected official goes into the office, into their position with intent. Intent is like inspiration and motive. Like, I intend to do X, Y, and Z, but I may not be able to get it done because there are other factors that control it.
Protect you. That's a nice thing. You flat out said you want to take something from me that you feel I shouldn't have.
But
You don't have the means to do it, so why make the threat?
But I'll say this.
It's not a threat, it's an intent. It's an intent to have gun control because we have issues with mass
Right.
shootings and gun violence. Like, that's normal to say that as a politician in that position.
But there's nothing based on fact to support it, though. Give me
But-
a reason why it's bad and we shouldn't have it, and maybe I can agree with that. But you
Right.
don't do that. You just make open threats. You shouldn't have it. It should be illegal.
I agree, but here's the thing, Johnny, is as a politician, you do need votes. So even when I talk about that 5%, that second standard deviation outside, those outliers, I do want those people to come to my side also. But I think one thing, I get what you're saying about Joe Biden, but during this election cycle, since he received the nomination in August from the party and throughout the primaries, Joe Biden has never doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on taking your guns. Can you say he has made statements that go against your vested interests? Absolutely. Can you say that in his planning process, when he is actually the nominee, and you can call it politics all you want, has he ever done anything that says he wants to take actionable steps towards a plan to take your guns, to have a gun registry by first term? Because when people get into office, they have to put out their plan for the first 100 days.
Right.
They have to put out, once this is determined, he's going to come out with a plan in about his first 100 days. And I'll say this, even if it is something that he has threatened or his intent, he's going to triage it. And he's going to say, my voters voted for me so that I can unify the House and the Senate. So that's going to be in my first 100 days for me to push as many bipartisan bills. And as you're saying, guns aren't anything near bipartisan. So I'm not going to touch that, seeing that my major intent, my triage, is to unite. My next thing is going to be education. My third thing is going to be the Black community and marginalized populations. My fourth is going to be police culture and things like that. All of those are going to be triaged before we get down those roads. And if the first 100 days, if he starts to make way with those, then he will. That's not saying that he doesn't believe it. So I'll say this, Johnny, if I ran for office, I would tell people I'm not a gun owner. I don't believe in X, Y, and Z, and I believe we should have restrictions. And I'm going to work hard to put those restrictions in place. But I got to get about 5 more things done beforehand. But I do need,
you have to rank it. You got to set the agenda.
I need that 5% too. The thing about Trump's 5% is he only catered to the 5%er of the far right. He only catered to certain things. Like I'm a Christian. I love my higher power, and I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ as my personal savior. And for somebody to sit in the church, I know that doesn't make you a Christian. For you to hold the Bible, it doesn't make you a Christian. But he is looking for the extreme evangelical voter that he can at least give the optics of a Christian. And it just depends on what you're looking at. You do have to gauge how far to the middle is Joe Biden. And I think the next thing, I'll say this, John, be as passionate as we know you are and we are. I know there's gun lobbyists, the NRA. Know your lobbyists by name, and I guarantee that's why guns are such a hot button topic, because you do have lobbyists, you do have people that make the government work for them regarding the Second Amendment. So when Joe Biden gets elected, just jump in there and say, hey, make sure you're doing your damn job.
I need y'all lobbying and moving on my behalf.
Right.
That's what I need y'all doing.
I hear you. I mean, I've just like I said, I've seen the restrictions that have already happened. You know, I've seen manufacturers have to move out of states, and it's just troubling. And I just compound that trouble on the open statements that he said. And it's like after having this conversation today, gauging the information that you guys have produced, I totally see what you're saying. And it's just now I'm even more confused because, like I just asked him, I just don't understand why he would choose to be so hardline. Because you could say I'm not a fan of the Second Amendment. He could be just like Obama was. And honestly, it's funny, more positive gun law has passed under Obama than under Trump as a Democrat. You know, like being able to carry your weapon on state ground.
That's because the
But
Senate was Republican. The House, you notice the House.
I understand. So I see where you're coming from, and I understand how that works. I totally do. It's just my whole issue was that I couldn't believe, like, I can't believe you're saying these things. I can't believe you're looking me dead in my eye and saying these things that you're saying, you know, and it's like, if I'm hearing you say it, it's not like, you know, these political ads that add the spin and all this nonsense. Gary Peters, you know, went to the bathroom during a meeting so he doesn't show up to work. You know, I was like, it's like you have looked me in the eye, literally, and said, this is what I want. This is what I'm about. That's the part that got me. So it's like, for all of these things and all the hurdles that he has in front of him, perspective wise, for me, just based on how passionate he was about it, I'm like, I don't know that I'm willing to risk giving someone that power when it seems like they would go out of their way to maybe put that above one of those first 5 steps. Because I didn't believe that he would attack my weapons within the first 2 years, honestly, because it's such a polarizing issue and he is trying to bring things together. I totally get that. It's just like, what are you going to do to set foundation for the next person to potentially carry on that fight? So I'm looking at it from a tug of war standpoint. I put him in, it's tugging away from me, and it's tugging away, and I may not be able to pull it back by the time that I have the ammunition to do so. So, you know, for everybody, honestly, because we're running late here, for everyone that's looking at this now, and you may want to bring my morals into question, just
don't do it.
That
we got your back.
I fought the good fight, believe me, for a very long time. And regardless of what people had to say about it, I stood on my beliefs. We're not always going to agree on everything. And believe me when I tell you that the vote I cast was not a vote I casted in confidence. But I had to look at the situation for how it impacts me. And like in terms of my wife, when it comes to children, this could be another topic in itself, but of course I believe that women should have the right to choose what they do with their bodies, but as hard as they will fight for that, I look at the fight from that perspective. Trying to take away my right under the Second Amendment is wholly different than trying to take away my right as a human rights. So that's an even harder fight, because now you're not talking about an inanimate object, you're talking about a person. So as hard line as some people are about, pro-life and things of that nature, to pass those laws, you have to look someone across from you in the eye that you're impacting on their body. So that's an even harder fight. So that's an entirely more polarizing issue than guns. But at the end of the day, like I said, for me, it affects me. So I had to, like you said, one issue voter, like, yes, that was me, because I looked at everything that was on the table, and I'm looking at this right here, and I'm like,
Nah.
Does this upset me more than everything else that happened? And you can fault me for making the decision I made, choosing that it does, but believe me, it was a hard decision to make, and I was really stuck for 5 minutes standing there just staring at it because I really didn't know what to do. And I voted in the primary, so it's not like I just rested on my laurels and all of a sudden, I can't vote for Biden. No, I did everything I could to not have to make this decision that I made a couple of days ago, but unfortunately it didn't play out in my favor. And based on how the rest of the country is voting, it doesn't appear that it's going to either. And I'm cool with that. It is what it is. But I can say, just like everybody says, you got to vote or you don't have a voice. I voted. I use my voice. And
Exactly.
that's how I feel about it. So it is what it is. Don't take my beliefs, because I don't try to put my beliefs out as what this channel is about. This channel is not me. I may have put it out, but this is not me. This is a group effort from all of these people that are talking tonight that help me every week. The discussions we have throughout the week in the group chat, this is a collaborative effort. And the whole point of this effort is that we are putting people together that just don't agree with each other. Because we can all sit here and just smell each other's farts and feel good about it. But I want to be able to add a perspective. So for nothing else, I want to be the guy that is at least trying to speak for these people that we're all talking about here today, that for whatever reason did not have the confidence to say those things openly. I will do that.
No,
My supporter, you will never.
You taking one for the team. You taking one for the team.
Get it twisted.
They'll come on, man.
I deal with people.
They just aren't ready for the viewers.
That feel a certain way. It's like if I see a person that sits across from me and I look at him, it's like I don't think that dude likes me, and I really, honestly, in my heart, feel that it's because I'm a black guy. So it's like I've encountered those things. I've encountered racism, and when people have the argument about Trump, oh, he's not a racist or he is a racist, and it's like, you know what? That doesn't matter because people are acting a particular way because of the position he's in. So it's a responsibility of a person to recognize how you impact others, especially when you're in a position of influence and you allow that influence to take people down a dark path. So again, I don't support Donald Trump. And if you want to consider my vote as support, that's fine. You're free to choose and believe that way. But I just understand what I'm saying. When it comes to my guns, obviously I'm ready to fight until I die if I have to. So when I got a dude looking across from me telling me it's beef, well, I don't know that I can roll with you if it's beef. Donald Trump doesn't acknowledge me at all. So his beliefs about who I am as a person and what he wants to do is fine. I don't exist. But unfortunately, this stuff over here does. Because when it comes to Trump and his issues and policies and whatever, in the last 4 years, I've been able to live my life. And I'm not trying to gloat or anything like that. Don't take it this way, but I've been able to improve on my life. Every year that goes by, I've been able to make improvements to my life and provide a better life for my family. I'm not saying that that's because of Donald Trump. I'm just saying that that's because of the situation I'm in as a person. So that means I've been able to effectively navigate through the Trump presidency and still come out in a positive light. And I feel totally sorry for anybody that hasn't. Believe me, there are people that have had hardships under this presidency, and I do feel for you and I empathize for you. However, you have a vote. You vote for the way you want to. I'm going to vote for my own personal interests, and that's why I did what I did. When it comes to next week, if I still have viewers, I'm going to institute a Q&A section for these videos because we get so many comments that fly by. I want to start acknowledging those more. I want to, have you guys as part of this as well, because I see a lot of comments pop up, and I do appreciate when Stacy, Vernon, when you guys reference those issues and bring them into the conversation. It's truly excellent. I want to actually dedicate time to do that officially so that these comments that we see are more recognized. So we couldn't really do it this week because we had so many different people talking. It's a roundtable. It would have been awkward. But honestly, when we start to get more back onto the one-on-ones, we're going to have Q&A that we're going to mix into these. I'm going to say an hour in. We start doing a little Q&A and then maybe get back to the closing arguments to try to condense this a little bit more, because I do appreciate the people that stick around and watch for so long. But please, all I can say is at the end of the day, I understand where all of them are coming from. Hopefully you guys can understand where I'm coming from, whether you believe me or you don't, or you don't understand, I am not a sycophant. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. If I don't believe in what you're saying, I'm going to make it known and I'm going to offer a reason why. I'm not just going to say you're wrong and you're wrong just because you're wrong. I'm going to have to give a reason. So if we can continue, and I'm hoping that all these people that are looking across from me tonight can continue to have the same level of respect based on my decision, that they
No love lost.
regardless of how it aligns with theirs.
You're my brother from another mother and father for life.
To do, and that's
I'm starting another group.
I'm gonna be in both groups. I'm just playing.
No, Johnny, you hitting the nail on the head. First off, we're not here to be the same, even experience. We got different family structures. We got all this. It's more differences than just a political party or voting preference. That's the whole point where I'm joking about our friends offline. They got different experiences. I respect that. Just respect mine too.
That part.
And we can talk about those differences. And all you got to do is make it make sense to me. That or else we still gonna be on the opposite. But good stuff tonight, people.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's not about just getting louder and louder and louder to drown out the person you're talking with. That's not how you debate. You know, and if you're gonna cite and reference information, just try to verify it first. That's all.
No, please do. Don't try.
Like,
Please
people
do.
just throw out this nonsense, and it's like you just shake your head, and it's like, man, how can I even have a conversation with you when you don't operate in reality at all? Like
this YouTube video said,
you can tell me that I'm totally wrong on how my beliefs are on the Second Amendment, but I can apply those beliefs to tangible things in my life. You know, so I really appreciate the conversation we had tonight. I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation, and I was kind of dreading it because I knew what was coming. I was going to have to answer the question. That's why I just put it out there from the start.
I just want to say one thing it may be in your defense, but it's really just me being transparent. You don't ever have to be in love with the candidates. You don't even really got to like them personally. They just need to be able to do the best job possible for that given position for the time they're going to be in. For me personally, I don't believe no elected official is ever my savior. I'm not relying on one. I'm not. God is my savior. I'm not ever relying on one elected official or one person that's going to save me. You know what I'm saying? Or that's going to carry me. I'm not relying on that. What I'm doing is I'm moving strategically because I'm not just moving on my behalf. I'm moving on the generations that's coming behind me, my peers, you know, people around me. It's not just about me, and that's my moral compass. My moral compass is going to be different from other people, right? I mean, given my background. So when we talk about elections and elected officials, I've never really been in love with the candidate. I may have liked their background or like where they're coming from or like some of the things they're going to do, but I've never said, okay, I gotta go vote for this person because I'm in love with them. Or, you know what, I don't like none of them, so I'm not gonna vote. No, because it's like hiring for a job. I don't have to like you personally, but you gonna get the job done so we can move efficiently and make progress, then that's what we gonna do. So that's how I feel about it. That's how it's kind of best to look at it in that way instead of getting your emotions super tied up in it. And I understand how that happens, but for me, that's been my growth over this 4-year period of having Trump in office. Like, if y'all knew me for 5 years ago, the way I was talking, it probably was worse than how, you know, you feel Ken may come off. Like, I was going in. But from where I'm sitting at, I'm in a position to educate and help. So that's what I'm going to do.
I love the fact that Ken heard that and it processed and you saw the light bulb. He was like, wait. You got
like Ken didn't go off on the video. I'm talking about Ken behind the scenes.
Decorum.
Like Johnny, you know I'm not still talking how I really talk right now. You know this. You know I've been good.
Appropriate because it's documented.
I've been good this whole time. You know me.
I appreciate it.
I've been behaved.
See, that's why I wanted you on when Mike was on, because I'm like, we might actually see the real King, because I don't know if you've been able to contain yourself.
I wouldn't have. So God intervened that night that I had my thing that I had to do because
it's
it was
just like
counterproductive to your platform.
Mike divine intervention.
My man's was, whoo! My man's.
Nice. Still gonna be nice here. All right. So
Yeah,
look,
no, but I'm just saying that was divine intervention because it wouldn't have been nice at a certain point.
give me
Either
some
got
closing
full.
arguments from you because it's your first time here. Just give us a little bit so we can close and let everybody shut down for the night. Ken,
What am I doing?
just give us some closing thoughts.
Oh, math matters. Common sense matters. Your man's lost. Get over it. Black Lives Matter. Protect Black women at all costs. I host an open mic meeting called Sound Off Sundays, 6th anniversary this Sunday. You want to come? Inbox me. Guns matter. You hate against Johnny, you hate against me, and I pull up. So don't do it. Love y'all.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you guys sticking around for this long episode. But politics and religion typically are going to do that. So tune in next week, please. Forgive me.
Please.
Come back.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.